Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Bold, Make Waves podcast, a show bringing you inspiring stories of women who are growing and scaling their business. I'm your host, Laura Comark, a website and tech integration specialist who works with online business owners who love their work and not their website. Join me as we have incredible conversations about business, mindset, productivity, and of course, the website and tech behind the business. Let's go ahead and dive in to this week's episode. Welcome to today's show. I am so excited for you all to be here today. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Laura Comark. I'm a website and tech integration specialist who works primarily with online female business owners who love their work and not their website. I'm so excited to have our guest on the show today, my friend and colleague, Parisa Golchoubian, who is an artist, designer, and engineer. Aside from selling her own art, she helps other artists and makers sell their work online through high-converting Shopify websites. She is also the founder and owner of an online art gallery and art ecosystem called Artterra. Parisa, welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone a little more about you and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I've been really looking forward to this all week, Laura. So thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to it too.
Yeah, this is lovely. So I'm an artist and I'm a trained engineer. I have a bachelor and master's in engineering. I worked for many years in the tech industry. I was a software developer before I started my entrepreneurial journey. And yeah, ever since I've been just creating my own art and helping other artists with their websites and also with my online art gallery, Artterra.
Oh, I love that so much. I didn't realize that you were a software engineer before in your prior life.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about, I don't know your backstory. We've known each other for years, but I don't actually know why you decided to go out and create your own business. And I would love to hear about that, kind of the catalyst that started that all.
For sure. Yeah. So I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering and a master's in systems design engineering, and with a focus really on the software side. So after I graduated, I got hired into one of the big automotive companies, and I was developing software for self-driving cars. And as cool as that might sound, and it was, quite honestly, the tech was really cool. But
that's fascinating.
But I was just not the corporate type. And the more I get to the more I get to know myself, the more I realize that there were so many elements in the corporate world that just didn't resonate. And there was a bunch of things that happened that eventually made me decide to just quit and start my own business. So I quit in 2019. A little before the pandemic, perfect timing. And I decided to travel for a bit just to get out of that headspace because I had a boss that was really not ideal. And there was a lot that had happened that I just really needed to take some time off. So I traveled for a few months and I got back. Again, this is like a few months before the pandemic. And I had a few ideas for starting a tech startup, funny enough. And then the pandemic hit and everything went into lockdown and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my next step should be. And so I use this term all the time. I was an undercover artist this entire time. Through everything, I've always created art and it was always my refuge. It was always my way to just get away from all this like stuff that was happening in my life. And during the pandemic, no surprise, that ramped up. I created a lot of art. And while I was just like kind of waiting to figure out what I want to do next, a bunch of my friends were like, why are you not selling your art? Your art is great. Like, we would totally buy this. I'm sure other people would buy it. At first I was like, no, what? I'm just, no. But I convinced myself, fine, let's just start an Instagram page. And having the tech background, I built a website. And very, very quickly after that, I started getting requests from other artists about like, who's your web designer? Your website looks so good. Like, who built your website? And then I was like, I did. And then I got a few requests from artists for helping out with their website. And then slowly this idea came to my mind that maybe this could actually be a business in its own. Maybe I could be building websites for other artists. And then the web design journey started from there.
I love that story so much. I love how it all kind of just flowed organically together. How did you start with a Shopify site originally?
No, I started with okay, so I have some experience building websites through the years. Like I had done it from like some family members here and there. When I first wanted to build mine, like I already knew that I didn't want to do it through like Squarespace or Wix or something like that. I really wanted to like figure out more of like what the WordPress development was about. So I built my first website on WordPress. And in hindsight, it was ugly. I don't know what the other artists were talking about. Like comparing to the type of like websites I built today, I don't know. It's just like I don't know honestly what the rave was about. But then I started with that, and it wasn't even an e-commerce shop at the beginning. But like after I decided to turn it into e-commerce, I played around with WooCommerce for a little bit and I just did not like it. And then I tried Shopify and I was like, this is brilliant. This is so great. Why is not everyone that has an e-commerce shop on Shopify? And then I slowly became this e-commerce, like this Shopify person, really. And now most of my clients are Shopify clients. Yeah.
Yeah, I know as an online shopper, I really appreciate and enjoy the customer journey, the user experience as a shopper when it's a Shopify site. It's very seamless. I love that it like remembers my information and it always tries to text me a code, which makes me nervous because sometimes I did that once and it like used a last used address and shipped something to someone that I was
my goodness.
So I've stopped doing that. But I'm like, I really find, especially when you're shipping physical goods, such as art, I think Shopify is definitely the way to go. I don't build e-commerce sites. I work primarily with coaches and consultants. So their sites are more for the functioning of like booking a call with them or growing their email list, which I'm sure your artists are as well. But they might have some digital products that we have connected, but not. I try to steer clear from the e-commerce side of things. So that was also one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show, because I love sending people to you because I know you build such wonderful websites with Shopify. And again, I really think the platform that's what it's meant for.
Yeah.
Not all platforms are meant to do all the things. And yeah, so I love that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you bring that up. I always talk about this, Laura, too, that every one of these platforms was kind of built to be this one thing at the beginning. Like WordPress, for instance, started as a blog, and then with all the additional stuff that was added, now it's very capable. I still to this day, I think 80% of the web is on WordPress. Yeah. But when it comes to e-commerce, like just the WooCommerce plugin is just, it feels so like a Frankenstein built to me. And I always say that.
Yes, I agree with that so much.
Yeah. Versus Shopify, from the very first day, it was built to be an e-commerce website. Mm-hmm. So when you just enter the backend of Shopify, it's very different from Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress. At the backend, it's like orders, shipping, like it's product. It's like you feel like you entered a store, really, versus like the other ones just added this functionality on top of it later on.
Oh, I love that. I think that's a great analogy as well. Oh, that's awesome. What would you say, where are your typical clients that come to you? Where are they kind of in their journey in entrepreneurship or in their artist journey when they are ready to work with you?
That's a great question. I have artists from a number of places in their journey that they come to me. I find at the beginning, especially because I was such a starter artist myself, like I was an emerging artist, I tended, just like from places I went to, I tend to attract a lot of emerging artists. And like, for instance, I used to do like a weekly clubhouse room that we just talked about, are you hiding as an artist? And we really delved into the road, like the mindset blocks that people have when they want to actually even call themselves an artist. There were so many really good conversations there. And through that, I booked a lot of clients that were emerging. They were just first-time artists. They really wanted to like just get their name out there. So I had a lot of those clients. But then as I find that, funny enough, as I myself as an artist also been growing throughout this whole entire stage of becoming more established, I find that I'm also attracting more established artists these days. And also a lot of people that call themselves makers, which is a really funny analogy because in my head they're all artists, but I find like I have a very broad I call all of them artists, but a lot of people are more comfortable with the term maker. They just feel like that's more representing. So yeah, so I have a lot of like jewelry artists. Again, I call them artists, crafters, people that make something like knitters, and they just come to me and I build their Shopify website. Some of them have been selling on Etsy for many years. So again, from like the revenue standpoint, they're also at different stages. Some of them haven't sold anything, but they've only sold to friends and family. It's usually like that. Like when artists start, it's usually like I sold a few pieces to friends or like my colleagues, but like not to a stranger. That's kind of like, how do I sell art to a stranger is a question I get a lot. It's also like somehow people think that until they haven't sold to a stranger, they're not a real quote unquote artist, which I find is bizarre. Like as long as you've sold, it means even if you haven't sold, like you're an artist. An artist isn't something like you need to, it's not like medicine where you need to go to school to just get like a degree. It's like you can call yourself an artist, but a lot of people struggle with that. So yeah, really at all stages, whether they're selling for many years on Etsy and they're ready for the Shopify website, or they've just been selling a few pieces here and there and now they're ready to move forward. I also had like a client that was just wanted a whole rebrand of their site. They weren't on Shopify and they just like really wanted to come into Shopify and do a whole rebrand of the site.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You brought up Etsy, and I would love to know, like, should people, like, from a strategy side of things, like, do you recommend like have the Etsy store because that can help with people finding you, but also have the Shopify store so you own your own website and you can't like, you have more control over it? Or what's your kind of stance on Etsy versus your own website?
Yeah, that's a great question. My stance on that has changed as I've been seeing more and more artists, honestly. At the beginning, I started with Etsy. I put some stuff up on Etsy. I was never able to be successful on Etsy, but as I've been working with clients that have been super successful, like I have a client that she has made, like she makes close to like 300 a year in revenue just from Etsy. So like some artists are really making a lot of money on there. And it made me realize that Etsy is a game in its own, that you need to learn the way to play this game and the SEO and how to show up and how to create stuff that is on trend and all that stuff with Etsy. You can be very successful. And a lot of times people find you on Etsy and then they look you up and they go to your website to see the other range of stuff that you offer. Maybe they're looking for a commission. So there is that benefit. But I am also a big advocate of not relying on like a third party platform like that. I would always say build your website, build your own email list, because you just have more control over everything. One day, if something happens to Etsy, and Etsy changes their fees and rules every few months, and every time it brings up a whole conversation in the art community about like, why are they doing this? Well, in reality, they're just a business. You need to be in control. You need to have your own email list. And also recurring customers is a big one. Even someone asked, so I talk about this all the time, but even when I buy something from Etsy, I say I bought it from Etsy. I don't say I bought it from Maria on Etsy.
That's such an interesting point.
Yeah.
Right, so because the artist is kind of hidden behind this Etsy wall.
Exactly.
I never even thought of that. When I've found things on Etsy before, I've even messaged makers and said, like, do you have a website I can go to? Because I know that they're going to get more of the money. They're not paying the Etsy commission. And so I want to support them if able to. And, I'll go try to follow them on socials and all the things to just also keep them top of mind if I've purchased from them multiple times. But that is a really interesting point.
Yeah. So I always say it's kind of impossible to build brand awareness in that sense. Like you just have one-off sales. And yes, Etsy has has so much traffic. And if you play their game, you can be selling a lot on there. But at the end of the day, you're not really building your own brand. Mm-hmm. You're just like making one-off sales. And I've worked with artists that some of them have been being a little bit more smart with it. Like with their package, they send a QR code to their website, or somehow try to get people on their email list, but usually like 1 out of 10 people just like get on their email list or something like that. Versus when you sell something on your own website, that person is on your list. You can constantly be marketing to them. Recurring sales is also a big thing with Shopify on your own website, e-commerce website. So like you're missing really on all those opportunities when you're just on Etsy.
Oh, that is so fascinating. I love it. I would love for you to talk a little bit about Arterra and how Arterra came to be and the gap you saw in the market, and talk a little bit about that as we have, we're talking about your artist journey and how that plays a part.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I realized when I was building all these Shopify websites for artists is that I would hand over this pretty site, and it was built to convert. It had all those like strategy in place for it to convert and all those things. But when I would hand over the website, the artist would struggle with marketing it and bringing traffic to it. And what I did, like, and I still do to this day, I would point them to some, like I have a great network of people who serve artists these days. So I would point them to an art marketer or someone to help them out. But I was always thinking about like, okay, what's the next step that I could do to help these artists bring traffic to their website and market themselves and put themselves out there, other than me actually having to do the marketing for them. So really the idea of Artterra kind of was in my head at the time. And I had another art mentor reach out to me about this, and it kind of just validated this idea that I had. And we started Artterra. We launched Artterra. Artterra's pretty new. We only launched it last year, Christmas. So in 2021. And yeah, we've been really getting a lot of interest from the art community for just getting on the website. So what Artterra really is I call it an online art gallery because it's fundamentally a different business model than Etsy and all these other marketplaces. So, and I find that it's a little tricky to communicate that at times. All these other places like Etsy, Artsy, Saatchi, there's so many of them. These you just go onto the platform, you build a page, you put your stuff up, and then that's pretty much it. Like you are on your own to do everything. Artterra is an art gallery model. We represent your work. So you apply to work with us. We only accept a handful of artists that we think matches the vision for the audience that we're trying to target, which are interior designers in the case of Artterra, and people who are interested in home decor and just like having stuff in a pretty interior. So we curate the stuff. We pick the stuff that we think would be a good fit for that. And then we build a page on our website. We start marketing for them. Our marketing includes everything from Instagram, email marketing, Pinterest. We're right now starting TikTok. So it's very much we market the art for you. And then once the art sells, we take a cut from the sale, which is because of all the extra stuff is a little bit more, the cut is a little larger than like say Etsy, which takes like 10%. But that's really the price of the marketing that's going into it. And I call it an art gallery because while it's not a art gallery in the traditional way, like art gallery, brick and mortar art galleries usually charge anywhere from 50 to 60% from like the price of the art that they represent. As an online gallery and being as artist friendly, and I'm an artist myself, so our rates are lower. But yeah, we in the same sense, we go out, we put your stuff in front of the art buyers, and we really try to sell to your art for you.
I love that. I know I've spent a few different times I've gone on to the Artterra website and just sort of gotten lost in all the different art in there. And you primarily, right now, you're open up to Canadian artists. Is that correct?
Yes. So as of now, so we ship to both US and Canada. So Laura, you can buy, no pressure.
No, I have wall space right there.
But yes, we do ship art to the States. Right now, the artists that we are representing are all Canadian, and I strategically choose to do that because I really wanted to like kind of test out this business model before I expand to other locations. So like right now, we're really focused on Canadian artists, and we get applications every week, and just like vetting that and going through all of that. Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun and a lot of work. Yeah, I now have two lovely ladies helping me with Artterra as well, but it's been so much fun just having it grow and we've been doing so many fun stuff under the Arterra umbrella. Like since last month, we've been doing a series of artist challenges where we just try to help artists through their path from emerging to established. Every month we have a topic, and then we really dive deep. I bring in people from my network to just talk to artists about that particular topic, and then we have them go through workshops and like exercises to really figure that part out.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. What would you say, because you've done a lot since 2019. You have a lot that you've created. I've always loved following your journey, especially like with this artterra side of things, like has been fascinating for me to watch as that's emerged over this last year. I would love to hear some of maybe the fears or doubts that you had when you were kind of going into things, and how you maybe talked yourself out of some of that like mindset, the mind blocks, the roadblocks that we hit when we're doing something a little scary, you know, when we standing on the edge, ready to jump off.
Yeah, there are so many. I'm trying to think which one should I bring up. Honestly, I feel, and I've heard people say this, and I think it's really true. I think entrepreneurship is probably the biggest self-development journey you can start. It's the moment you start, the moment you decide to be a founder or start something, or even an artist, like, because artists are also some type of entrepreneur, I believe. They you see all of the mindset blocks like one after one just like coming up. They're brutal at times. And I sometimes really think from the journey that I've had to go through with mindset, and just realizing that not every no is, it's just like every no at the beginning was so hard on me. Like that nowadays I look back and I remember the first time I reached out to someone to collaborate for artists, like she just told me straight up, no, like you're not. She said something in the context that like you're too new in business, I don't trust you. Like more a little bit more like diplomatic, but pretty much that was the message. And it really crushed me, I remember. And for like a month, I remember I wasn't able to reach out to anyone else. Nowadays, I still hear no every day, but I just don't take it that personal. I'm like, okay, sure. There's still so many other people I can collaborate with. And it's funny sometimes, and you and I have talked about this before, sometimes you see that same person come back and actually offer the collaboration now, which is really interesting to see. I feel that those mindset shifts and just realizing that every no doesn't mean that your business is going to suffer, and that there's still 100 other yeses out there waiting for you, and just really having the courage to, after hearing a no, just kind of go back into the game, I think is huge.
I think that's so important. I think it's also important to recognize the fact that sometimes just because someone's saying no to you isn't always about you. A lot of times it's not about you. A lot of times it's no, maybe they have something else going on. Maybe it's just the wrong time, or they're pivoting their business, or it's just they overextended and they're feeling overwhelmed. I know sometimes I'll feel overwhelmed and like block off the rest of I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I have too many things on my calendar, block off the week.
Yes.
And so, when we tell these stories about the reason that we heard the no, is making sure it's a good story that we tell ourselves, and not, because it could go so many ways. And I know I do it all the time. I make up stories in my head on the reasoning behind it, and just trying to like get out of that and just make it a good story.
Yeah, that's very true. I can totally relate to that. And also the fact that like a no doesn't necessarily mean a no forever. It just means not right now. And this happened to me a lot as well, where like I had a consultation with an artist and for a website, and then there was a no, but then a few months down the road, she came back for a website. So there's so many things, and we kind of like, we're only seeing our side of the story. So we just feel like, oh, she said no, there must be something wrong with my business, or like what my offer is, but we're not considering everything that the other person is going through. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So much. I would love to hear, you're doing so many things in your industry that I feel are you're paving your own path for sure. And I would love to know if there's anything that you feel that you're doing in the industry that's being very bold.
Yeah, I would say So Arterra has been really recently, I've been really blessed with getting some traction with Arterra, and I've been accepted into some tech accelerators and incubators. And really, I've been it's funny because like once you're building something, sometimes you're blind to these things. But the more I talk about it, there's other people that really point this out to me, how much of a new business model say Arterra is. And I find that that's very in line with my engineering background. I tend to question things all the time. It's like I remember from day one when I wanted to sell my art, I was questioning how art was sold in the industry. Like it was just like, why is it this way? Like this is so inefficient. Why does it have to be like that? And why do you only need to have a network in order to be able to sell art? And all these things. And as I've been building the business, I have more appreciation for people who have been building businesses in the traditional sense of the world, in the art industry. But I still tend to always question if something could be done differently. And with Arterra, it's really been about that. It's neither like a traditional art gallery, nor is it like a marketplace like all these other places. It's something in between. And I feel like it really stems from my own needs as an artist, where I was thinking about like, okay, I need to put my art somewhere that they can help me with marketing, not just like put it up there and then be done with it. Like I don't know what I'm doing, so I need help. So so yeah, it's been, in that sense, it's been really new, and what has been attracted all these accelerators, tech accelerators, where they're talking about, yeah, this is really an innovative model.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you saw a gap. You said, I can find a way to fill that gap. And that's so amazing.
I sure hope so. I sure hope Arterra would grow to its full potential. We're still in year one, so.
We've known each other for a number of years, and I'm pretty sure you know I'm a big fan of celebrating ourselves and the wins that we achieve and any little celebration. I would love to know, when you look back on your journey over the past few years, what is something that you're really proud of that you've accomplished?
Again, it's like when you think about, and I know I just started this in 2019, but honestly, it feels like ages ago. But when I think about when I started, I just think about what a different person I was, and how different I looked at things, and how different I thought about things. And when I started in 2019, I really didn't have a network. Like I was coming out of like the tech software industry. Like I didn't know anything about selling art. And really the initial attempts of all of this, now that I'm thinking, was just to figure out how to sell my own art. It was really just trying to like connect with these people that later on became mentors, became friends. And now I'm so proud of this network that I've built of other people who are also serving artists, and has helped tremendously with Arterra as well. So I built these relationships and this network to not only help other artists with their websites, because we collaborated on a lot of things, and also to figure out how to sell my own art. But then when I launched Arterra, like my network eventually kind of became my advocate, and they were the people that were really sending artists to me, talking about Arterra. And it's been just a blessing, and everything that it has provided. So I really think that I'm so proud of that, knowing that I did not have a network. I didn't know anyone that was doing what I was trying to do. And I had to build that from ground up.
I love that. I feel like the importance of relationships when having our own businesses. I mean, I know for me, I really felt like my network finally started. I felt like I first started my business in 2015. I also had a newborn at home, and there was a lot that I was juggling. And so it was hard for me to like build a lot of relationships at that point, because I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. And it just seemed a lot harder back then. Nowadays, like I feel like my network, since around 2020 is when I feel like I found like my tribe of people, and then my network just started exploding. And then since then, I've just been building so many relationships, and I love that. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast, so that I could take a bunch of these relationships that I've created and share these amazing women with the rest of the world and with my audience, because it's incredible what we're all doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're like, I just started 2019. Look how much you've accomplished since 2019. I mean, it's It's a big deal. It's incredible. I'm proud of you. I love watching your journey. It's so awesome. It's so hard when we're in it. Because I know, like, for me especially, I feel like it goes so slow and I'm like, but I want to be all the way up here and I'm just not there yet. But if I stop and actually look back and reflect on how far I've come, I realize I actually am up here. I just really want to go higher.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Laura, the fact that you started a business with a newborn, I could never. Like, to me, that was so hard. And also I always appreciate how much the relationships that you've built. And if anything, I think I look up to you within this matter. Like, I think you just have such a network, you know, so many people. You know how many times I come to you about, like, how can I build a relationship with, like, this particular area, someone in this area. So, like, I think you're doing an amazing job. And I do agree that when it comes to ourselves, we're just, I don't know, everything that other people do is so fascinating and they're so brilliant. But when it comes to ourselves, we're like, I try. I've been doing some stuff.
So true.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's brutal. I don't know why we do this to ourselves sometimes. But yeah, it's just so good. And I love what you said about, like, just celebrating ourselves just every once in a while, just like look back, where was I in 2015? Where am I now? How far have I come?
So far. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I could sit here and talk with you all day. We are getting close to our time, but I do have one final question that I ask everyone who comes on the show. And I would love to know, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's just starting out in their business that would help them be bolder, be louder, and make waves in their business and industry?
That's a great one. I usually tell people to just start, and maybe this is before they've actually even started, but I'm a big believer in experimentation. And I do a lot of it in my own business. I just feel like these cookie cutter solutions that usually gurus offer us doesn't necessarily work for everyone in every business. Now, you kind of need to just try things out to figure out which one works for you, which one matches your lifestyle, which one goes with your energy and all those things. So you kind of need to try a bunch of things. But if you want every one of those experimentations to be perfect, well, that's kind of against the whole experimentation rule. Just, it needs to be messy. And I've taken so many scrappy, messy, just the moves here and there during my business. And every one of them I learned something from them. At some time, I just needed to attend this course and figure things out. And like at the end, I was like, I tried something and it didn't work. But there's so much from every experimentation, even if it seems like a failure, I wouldn't label it as such. I think from every experimentation, you still learn something. At least you learned that something didn't work. Because what are you earning right now from not doing anything? What is coming out of it? Like, if you don't have a business, if you haven't tried, if you fail, you also don't have a business. Like, there's nothing extra that you're going to gain from not taking action. Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? You wouldn't be any different from where you already are.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. Well, Parisa, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our audience where they can find out more about you, and maybe they're an artist as well and want to work with you, or go find out more about Arterra, or all the places, all the things?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm, again, like, having 3 businesses. I'm in a few different places, but I would say start with my art Instagram. It's where everything started. It's Parisa Fine Arts. There you can find in my bio the link to Arterra, to my web design agency, and everything from there. My websites are also linked there.
Wonderful. And I will link everything up in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, I've had so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes at lauracomark.com/podcast. And if you're ready to grow and scale your business, and your current website is outdated and doesn't reflect the magic you bring and the results you get for your clients, go to lauracomark.com to find out how I can help bring your vision to life. That's laurakomark.com. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week. Bye now.